I track it every day to make sure no somebody hacking your account, charge some things, so, and I keep on top of everything to make sure, checks that I wrote, it came in clear and, and so check and balance everything.
All right, so we're moving into our last section, and let's discuss helpful budgeting tools available to couples, because we've set those goals, we've set a budget, we know how we want to manage our money. What tools do we have available to us to ensure that we continue on the path to financial freedom?
Well, there's no shortage of tools, that's for sure. There's all kinds of great budget tools, there's spreadsheets, there's apps. I think what's missing is an execution app.
An execution app.
That's what's missing. I think people just have to make sure that they're doing something, they're evaluating what they're doing, they're reevaluating what they decided, and evolving as changes come into play.
Absolutely. And I'm happy you mentioned those different types of tools available to them, because you also might realize that, my significant other prefers to use software. I prefer to use paper and pencil. Doesn't mean either one of us is right or wrong. We just, as long as we're doing something, right?
And I think couples have a huge advantage because they have a built-in accountability partner, right? I lie to myself all the time. Oh, I needed a coffee. I was running late to a meeting. I was going to be a zombie. Oh, I needed to get this. It was my friend's birthday and I owed them. But when I have to share that information with a partner, hey, we didn't hit our goals because I bought too much coffee, I'm much more likely to execute, right?
Exactly.
It goes from a I needed to oh, I failed, and oh, that sounds negative. It can also be a motivator,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and one of the things that's popular is automation, and using automation as a tool to continue to ensure that you're working your budget. But is automation trickier when you're in a relationship or when you're managing money with someone else?
Frankly, I think it can be at first. Because when you're first setting it up, there can be more accounts, there can be more goals, there can be, there's 2 paychecks for that matter. There's more income. So I think it can be, but I think once it gets going, it certainly doesn't have to be. I think automation is all about kind of making your money work for you. If you, every month at the end of the month, transfer some money into savings, every month you're making the decision to save. If you have some money coming automatically out of your paycheck into a savings account, every month you have to make the decision not to save.
Absolutely.
I think out of sight, out of mind through automation is fantastic. But again, as long as we are reevaluating what we did, because if you put the time and the effort and the work and the solution that you come up with, great. That means you made the decision that made sense then. So as things evolve, you have to evolve with it, and your finance have to come along with you. So I think that's why it's so important just to make sure that we don't just set it on autopilot and 10 years later, oh, you know what? I was only saving $50 a month because that's what I could afford. Things have changed after 10 years.
Absolutely, and I think that, get creative with the tools available to you. I think we often think about apps that help you manage your budget or help you save more, different spreadsheets available to you. But what about tools that just help you build a stronger financial foundation? So I know that you mentioned you and your wife, you have reminders set on your phone to remind you of your financial goals, but I think that's a tool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's goals, that actually work with the money, but then I think at the end of the day, especially if maybe you're changing, maybe you had something automated and it's time to change, money comes down to habits, right? Your spending is by habit, so you really need to figure out a tool, maybe like a reminder, that's gonna help you break a habit. And this is where I love spreadsheets, but they can get us into trouble. If I look at a spreadsheet and I say, hey, I didn't hit my goal last week, and I don't change any of my behavior,
I'm
not gonna hit my goal this week, right?
Yeah,
I have people come
definitely.
in who use an app and they'll come in and they'll say, I've looked at the app the last 4 weeks and I didn't hit my goal any of the times. Am I bad at budgeting? I'm like, no, you're good at tracking, but you haven't tried budgeting yet, really.
Yeah, definitely. And Axel, I think that you're right. It's that action, right? It is taking that action. So finding apps that also inspire you to take action or remind you to take action.
The onus is on the person. There's no app that's going to replace the fact that they have to make the decision to do. And to your point, you're tracking things, but what are you doing differently? And that's where the intimacy and the transparency around what goes out is just as important as what comes in.
Yeah.
I found that one tool that helps me and my husband is we have a shared calendar. So we have a shared electronic calendar and we have a calendar placed in our household. So we're really visual, clearly around our house. But we have a shared calendar. So even though I might be responsible for paying certain bills, we have it written on the calendar so he knows what I'm paying. I know what he's paying, but we also place our schedules on that calendar because time is money. So we also want to know how each other is spending their time outside of when we're together, and so that we can also plan for things as a couple and as individuals. So that calendar has been a valuable valuable tool in our household that it's kind of outside the traditional financial tool spectrum, but it works just as well and it's just as important for us.
And I love the transparency, like
Yeah.
that you can't be any more transparent than that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fantastic. What I love about all of this is, again, there's no shortage of ideas or tools.
shortage.
I mean, it's just, again, it's to do something. Make sure you're executing whatever plan you come up with and revisiting it. That's what it comes down to at the end, for me, every time.
And being okay with failure. Do something.
Fail forward.
It may not work. Try something else. Or it may not work that week, and you try it again, and then it works, and then you fail, and then it works for 2 weeks, and then you fail, and then it works for 3 weeks. And eventually, you're stacking success. It becomes a habit.
We all have different ways of managing our money and taking advantage of the tools available to us. But I think we've identified that find the tool that works for you, right? Let's have a look at what we've learned. There are many ways to manage your money as a couple, right? But I think we've identified you have to find the way that works for you. Thank you so much, Dan and Axel, for joining me and talking about this important topic.
Happy to be here. It's been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you check out all of our tools, support, and education, as well as all of our other courses. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.